Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Red Couch Podcast. I'm your host, Konstantinos Drossos, and I'm here with Omri Kash, who's a from the MIA program here at Fanshawe, and an up-and-coming indie R&B artist, if I'm correct. Is that true?
Yeah, you called that.
Awesome. All right. Welcome, Omri. How you doing, man?
Very good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. So
Glad to be
before...
here.
Thank you, man. So before we start off, can we just get you to give a little brief introduction about yourself to the audience?
Yeah. Oh, brief introduction, man. I suck at those. Uh, my name is Omri Kash. I'm a producer, artist, singer, and I play keyboards. I play drums, and I haven't really thought too far about how to talk about that. Uh, what do you want me to say?
Maybe like so you kind of got into the bit about who you are. Like starting off, like who were some influences of yours growing up that kind of like they helped you guide your way and say like, hey, you know what, I want to produce a career in music.
Yeah. So that kind of all started when I was 18. I was playing piano and stuff, and I was into hip hop and stuff growing up as a kid. But when I turned 18, I went to a record store and I found Inner Visions by Stevie Wonder. It's it's a great album, and I didn't really know much about Stevie at the time, but I loved the cover art. That's what got me into it. Was like I looked at the cover art. It was just this like I don't know how to describe art, but it was just like if you've seen the cover art, you know. Um, and I was just like, yeah, I gotta freaking listen to this record. So I did, and then I fell in love with it. And then I found out that he produced all the tracks and he played a lot of the instruments, and especially back in the 70s, layering those tracks is really, really impressive. Because nowadays you can just like hop on FL Studio, just freaking record a track, and then right on top of it, in like the matter of 2 seconds, get your next track going.
Right.
But that inspired me a lot. And I was like, I remember telling my friend who was a musician at the time, just like out of nowhere, like, yeah, I'm gonna start making music. And he laughed at me because he's just like, okay, like the hell, like, no, you're not. And then I was like, no, dude, trust me. I spent like $200 on some stuff, like it's gonna be great. And yeah, that's kind of what started everything. Was that?
It's pretty cool. And like those musicians and those influences that how did they help you mold you to your sound and how you produce your music to this day, like today? Who are like some of those guys, and how do they kind of shape the sound that you kind of produce in your own music?
Well, my biggest influences are all kind of like one man bands. Stevie Wonder, Prince, D'Angelo, guys like that. Um, there's a lot of them, like Kevin Parker from Tame Impala. Like those guys just inspired me a lot because I'm like, holy crap, they kind of just did everything on their own. Like obviously not exactly, but I was like, man, I want to be that involved in my craft. Like I want to be one of those DIY musicians.
Yeah.
And I really take the craft part seriously, production, writing, being really involved with every single part of the process is kind of what I looked up to in other artists, and that's what I wanted to do for myself.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned Tim and Paul. He's a great
Yeah.
one out there.
Yeah, dude, he's great.
Let's Know the Better, one of my favorite songs by him.
Mm-hmm.
And you also we kind of talked about before. I told you to come onto the podcast here. You were a grad from the MIA program, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your time in that program like?
Dude, it was great. It was also COVID, so it wasn't as great as it could have been. But first year was like super awesome. I got to meet a lot of people that made me realize I was not actually that good yet, and I had to work my ass off. And then end of first year, that's when COVID hit, and no one took it seriously at first. Everyone was just kind of like, even one of my profs was like, "Dude, this is bullshit. Like, we're not gonna shut down because of this." And then a week later, he's like, "All right, guys, we're shutting down." So yeah, it sucked, but it is what it is. Second year, we still got access to the studio. Um, they made it work pretty much, and but especially as the people I met, I would, that's worth way more than the tuition I paid.
Yeah.
Some of my good friends and people that I work very closely with, Oliver Presta was in my program, and you know that's worth a lot more than $14,000. You know,
There
it's
you
like
go,
those
yeah.
relationships. So
Yeah, you kind of interesting there. You kind of talked about COVID because with me during that COVID period too, I was in game design. We had to kind of shift our entire focus from working in the studio to then working at home, and the workflow change was complete and utter culture shock. Almost like it was completely different from a production standpoint for music. What was that like for you when you had to shift from having access to like a high end studio to then producing stuff in your bedroom?
well, I was already producing stuff in my bedroom. That part didn't change. It's just such a short program that it's not like we even got used to anything. Like it wasn't even the full first year of non-COVID until it hit. And then we also weren't really all that great after first year. You know, we didn't really know, a lot of us at least didn't really know how to use the the studios to their fullest potential. So second year was honestly pretty decent because we did get studio time. It was just more closely monitored or whatever, and we had to like um, just be more careful, more mindful because of the pandemic. But we have, for the most part, I think I learned a lot more in second year about the studios and how to use them. Maybe with that limitation actually helped. So,
Interesting.
mhm.
And now that you've moved on from the MIA program and you've kind of now started your own kind of career outside, how have you been like how are you producing music now? Like you said that you have like your own like drums and keyboard and stuff like that at home and stuff like how does it go about doing that?
Yeah. Well, I have improved my home studio quite a bit over the years. Going to MIA has definitely helped that because we had to learn about what made a studio, workable. Like what made it actually sound good. What are the measures you have to take when building your studio, right, to make it sound good? And you know, it's not as good as the Fanshawe studio that has like millions of dollars in it, but I make do. I make some pretty good demos in there, just in my my front room in my house, my parents' house. And what I typically do is I'll start some demos, like I'll record my drum kit, I'll record my piano, my voice, and I'll send that demo over to Oliver, who has a better home studio than me, and sometimes I'll just go to his house in Hamilton and record the final vocals there because he has a better mic, he has a better space to record, so we'll get those final touches done there. But yeah, that's pretty much the process overall right now.
It's pretty good, you start off small and once the work pays off you get that bigger studio, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
just
hopefully.
goes there.
Mhm.
So I've noticed that also in your online in your social media presence, you like to infuse a lot of comedy in your self promotions when you got an upcoming show or an
Mhm.
upcoming project that you got going on. And it made me laugh a couple of times. I've
That's
seen
good.
that stuff. It's really funny. Why do you use comedy and how do you use it to kind of like attract your audience to kind of say like, "Yo, I'm Omri Kash. Come and see who I am as an artist and come to my
Yeah.
shows."
Well, one of my biggest philosophies is that you have to give people value in literally everything you do. I find it a little, I don't want to say obnoxious, and it's not like I'm not hating on anyone that does this, but just kind of like, what's up, guys? I got a show this weekend. You guys should come. Like, why? Tell me why. Make me laugh or make me feel something. So I've always loved comedy. I love making people laugh. That's one of my first passions in life. Was like, I just want to make people laugh. I don't really know why, but it just makes me feel great. So I figured, dude, let's take the show promo up a notch and just like give people something to enjoy, whether they come to the show or not. And I feel like that gives people another reason to invest, in their time and their money to come to a show.
So it's all part of like the brand and stuff like that. You're creating that type of personal brand and that icon
Mhm.
out there. You know what I mean? It's a good part of your character and stuff like that as an artist.
Thanks.
Moving on to now your music. I noticed that one of your songs, "Bad Advice," has garnered over 30,000 listens on Spotify. What was that
Mhm.
like for you when you like woke up and you saw that number?
It wasn't a wake up. It was just kind of like, oh hey, it's at like 10K now, and then it's like, oh, it's gradually going up, and then now it's like, hey, that's not bad. That's pretty good. Um, So yeah, I wish I could say it was like a wake up, just like whoa, 30K, and then like that was only the third day it came out. Like that'd be a lot cooler. But yeah, it's still great, and I'm very happy that it's gotten any attention at all. So it's pretty cool.
It's pretty good, even as as a solo indie artist like yourself. You said you're like a one man band. It's a pretty monumentous, milestone early on in your career, right? So it's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I mean that particular track, Oliver produced, and we worked very closely for quite a while to get that one done. But yeah, man, that's how it's been.
That's good.
Yeah.
And the other song I got here too is Tate, which the vibe I listened to it, very poppy, very like
hmm
infectious vibe. Can you dive into how you went about creating that song and like the lyrics behind it and like the melody and all everything from instrumentals to vocals and stuff like that?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a funny story. So my good friend Ted, he's uh he's a rapper, but he's more just like he was one of my best friends, and he raps. And I was like, dude, let's make a track. So I got him in my basement, and I was like, yo, I'm just going to give you a random subject to rant about. I'll just give you anything. And for 2 minutes, you're just going to rant about this subject or just freaking talk. Right. So then I was like, okay, the Holy Bible. Right. And then he was like, okay, I got this. So he ranted for like 2 minutes, and I found some little audio parts that I liked, and I just chopped it up, and I was like, and that's, if you listen to the song, it was like, I don't like that Bible. I don't like that Bible. That's his voice that I chopped up, and I like obviously played around with. And then I started hearing this bass line. I was like, do 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 do. And then I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And then I added some, you know, just added some drums, filled out the percussion or and the, just the production. And then we were just having a good time and just laughing and shit. And I just said, I just started making up lyrics that made no sense. And I said, she won't give up that ass. And I was like, man, that's really stupid. But we were laughing pretty hard. So we just went with it. And then I was like, Ted, what do you think this song's about? And he's like, dude, I don't even know if it's about anything. It's just like really stupid. So I was like, what if we make it kind of just like from the narrative perspective of just these like douchebag wannabe playboys that like love these internet guru assholes like Andrew Tate and stuff that just like worship these guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny because those guys get the least amount of play.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you know what I mean? And they talk this big game. They're just like God's gift to earth, but really they're actually like little baby bitches on the inside because they don't have their own code yet.
Yeah.
They've been busy following these internet gurus, looking up to them. It's just like, all right, but what's your actual fucking thoughts and feelings? Like, you got to have your own, right? So we thought it'd be really funny to just like play into these characters and just like be awful people
Yeah.
for the song, right? And a lot of people don't get that joke. They think I'm like being for real and all this stuff. And I'm like, hey, I don't really care, but it was a joke. So that's how that song happened. It was a good time. Yeah.
So we kind of talked about those two songs right now. What are some stuff that you got coming out soon?
Well, I mean,
Singles and
I
stuff.
haven't dropped anything since 2023, so it's been a while. But I got a lot. I got a lot of stuff on the back burner. Not even on the back burner. They're on the friggin' burner. You know what I'm saying? They're cooking up. They're about to be out. Um, a lot of changes have happened in my life, in my soul.
Very
I've
like a spiritual awakening almost. In a
Yeah,
way.
well, I just realized that I actually do have something to say that's my own. I'm not just gonna play a character because I feel like a lot of my songs I've been kind of just having fun, playing a role, making up a story. But a lot of the singles I have lined up for release this year are very much just thoughts and feelings that I genuinely have. I truly represent, and the aesthetics have changed. I've matured. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, but I have a song coming out February, and after that, there's more songs coming out. March, April, most likely gonna have songs coming out just to make up for 2024 being completely dead. Like I had nothing. And there might be an album. There might be an album coming out end of this year. We'll see. I don't know yet.
It's good.
But
Well,
yeah.
I mean, you gotta, you know, a lot of artists use that year of going ghost or those 2 years to, again, like you said, they're in the studio cooking something up, you know, and that's good. You need that time. But you mentioned changes too. Have you ever thought about changing genres, maybe just to switch it up for a bit, maybe to go into like something like, I don't know, like rock and roll or something like that, or you just gonna stick to R&B and stuff like that?
I mean, I wouldn't even say I'm like truly in R&B. I feel like my style is just really freaking all over the place. Like a lot of artists, um, you'll ask a lot of artists like what genre you're in, and they're just like, dude, just listen to my stuff and you decide. How's that? Like you tell me if you listen to this and it makes you think of pop or R&B. Like I don't really care as long as you're listening. But I will say one of the singles I have coming out actually does have a lot more rock infusion in it. Some more distorted electric guitars and characteristic rock tropes, stuff like that. But yeah, swishing genres, I don't think I'll ever do. I'm just gonna make whatever feels right to me.
I like that. You're like, you don't confine yourself to one type of genre, one like label. You just say you're kind of like floating around, testing out different, like you're almost like a chemist, mixing different, you know, sounds together to get
Yeah,
the
yeah,
vibe that you want for the type of, you know, single you're trying to.
yeah.
Move
That's kind of
forward
what
with,
it's like. Yeah.
yeah. So, what about shows and stuff like that? Do you got any upcoming shows or like concerts coming up for that? You know, we can tell Fanshawe students about.
Yeah, nothing concrete yet. I have like I mentioned, I have a song coming out in February. What the band and I are trying to do is set up a show for that release. We're probably going to do it in London. I don't see it being outside of London, but yeah, I'm aiming for February, but nothing is actually set in stone yet. So I will let you know when it is.
Right, awesome. And like you mentioned, you got a band. What's your band called? You know, it's called Omri Kash, but then you have an interesting name for them too that I found online.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
funny.
We're the band is not they're not all happy about the band name. But Omri Kash and the Elastic Band is the current name.
That's a pretty clever name in my opinion. That's pretty.
I thought so too,
Sounds
but
hip, you know.
it's super hip, dude. But yeah, the guitarist Griffin Noriega, he wants it to be Omri Cash and the Leaks. I don't know why.
Interesting.
And Charlie Kramer's the bass player. He has a billion ideas all at once. So I don't really know what he's thinking. And Evan Chambers, the drummer, he's just kind of there to play drums. I don't think he cares what the band name is. But yeah, they're all great guys, great players. So we're just hyped to put on another show soon.
It's good, man. It's good.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it sounds like, you know, from the time of you being a student here at Fanshawe to where you're at now, you've made quite an impact and carved yourself quite a path to where you are right now as a solo artist and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say an impact. I'd say like I've made a dent maybe.
Yeah, that's good. You know what, man?
You know?
That then will turn into something bigger, you know, and that's
Yeah,
good. You know,
hopefully.
as long as you're doing what you love doing, it's not work. You know, it's a passion you're driving yourself on. You know,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah.
good. Going on that topic right now, what's it like working compared, you know, working solo on your own to compared, you know, working with a band and stuff like that.
Well, the band and I have never actually written anything together. Nothing like nearly complete. Like we've written very short things before. But yeah, I've primarily been just writing solo, so that hasn't changed. But when I'm working with the band, it's a lot of just like teaching them my songs. Oh, mostly they just figure it out on their own. I just sit there, and that's pretty much it. I'm really hoping that we write something together, and because I've been saying like that would be a great experience to like try to co-write with a bunch of people. Um, but yeah, that just hasn't happened yet. So
Yeah, you know, it's also kind of challenging too because when you're kind of like the front man of an entire group, you have to find that vibe and that chemistry that unites everyone on stage, and you find that same sound, and you're all in sync with one another. It must be a challenge too, you know.
Yeah, it is. When you have like really great players, like with my band, it makes it a lot easier because I'm just kind of learning from them the whole time, and they just pick stuff up so quick, and they have those three guys already played together in other avenues and in other bands, so they already lock into each other like that. So I'm just kind of like wedging myself in, like, hey, I can lock in too, guys, you know. But
That.
yeah.
Do they usually take a lot of the stuff you've pre-written, like add their own flair to it, or? Like,
Oh
do
yeah, yeah, and I encourage that. I'm like, hey, dude, this doesn't have to sound like the record.
Are you also a pretty like avid user for like different types of pedals and stuff like that when it comes to guitars? Or-
I know like nothing about the guitar gear
Oh,
world.
okay.
Yeah, I just look at Griffin's setup when we're playing, and I'm just like, don't even talk to me about it. I don't even care. That's just too much bandwidth taken.
Yeah, it's like too
You
much
know?
science stuff. Like they just tell them, yo, put on that pedal right there, see how it
Yeah.
sounds, and if it adds the effect that I want to the song.
Like I love the sound of a wah pedal and
Oh,
stuff,
yeah,
but I'm like,
same
I'm
here.
not a guitarist, so I'm just gonna be like, if you think so, might sound cool. I don't know.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well, I think that's all the time we have here. Okay, I'm gonna redo that.
Says thank you, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
So thank you to our guest Omri Kash for coming on this week's episode of the Red Couch Podcast. You can catch more on our website or wherever you get our podcasts. Watch full episodes on YouTube, and keep an eye out for our newsletter for all things Fanshawe. For the entire bank, I'm Konstantinos.